What's up, Dunwoody? Welcome back to the podcast all about Dunwoody, Georgia. My name is Matt Weber. Show is brought to you by Dr. Brett Friedman with Village Orthodontics and Discover Dunwoody. And I've got a new friend here today. His name's Dhaval Desai. And Dhaval lives close by. You grew up close by and went to North Springs High School, right?
I sure did. And I grew up in the area when everything was called Dunwoody. So
When
Dunwoody, despite I living in Sandy Springs, Dunwoody has a special place for me. So thanks for having me.
Well, what brought you back? Let's tell your story about, how you left Dunwoody, how you came back to Dunwoody.
Yeah, sure. So I left. I went to college locally at Emory. I actually came back and taught high school at North Springs High School. I taught high school Spanish.
Oh, nice.
I love the classroom, getting back in the community. And then I went off to medical school. I went abroad for 2 years to American University of the Caribbean School of Medicine for 2 years in St. Martin.
Let me stop you right there. That's a pretty cool school to go to, right?
Oh, it was amazing. But there's a myth. There's a myth that you're on the beach studying and doing flashcards and all that. No. I barely saw the beach. I mean, it was hardcore. So
okay.
It was good. It was a good experience living internationally, making a community out there. And then I got to globetrot, come back to the stateside, and I lived in New York City for 2 years, where I did my clinicals, 3rd and 4th year medical school in the 5 boroughs, which was an amazing experience. I was single at the time, mid-20s. New York was my friend, right? That's the way it works when you live up there. And then I went off to Ohio for my residency, junior internship and residency, so to speak, in internal medicine and pediatrics, and made my way back home in 2012 and joined St. Joseph's, now Emory St. Joseph's Hospital, where I spent almost 15 years. And I was a director over there, had a great experience, loved my colleagues, but, pivoting out was really important for me. Matt, this area, Dunwoody, Sandy Springs, Brookhaven, we have a lot of healthcare going on in this community. There's a lot of doctors, there's a lot of hospitals, there's just a lot. This is a center for healthcare. And I realized for me that I really enjoyed the patients, interacting with patients and families, but our healthcare system, local, national, state, wherever you want to call it, is very complex. And everything that doctors, nurses, healthcare workers are charged with doing these days, mandated by insurance companies and regulations, it was taking me away from the core mission. And it took me 2 years to really realize that before I pivoted out into what I'm doing now.
Yeah, it is tough because that's what you want to do and you're stuck doing all the back end stuff, the stuff that you weren't trained to do, right?
Absolutely.
So you're a direct primary care, but to me, that's just like a regular physician doing like a private gig. Is it different for internal medicine?
Is a private gig. It is a private gig. So let me explain and let's get into it. So DPC, or direct primary care, think of it as primary care where we do everything, the detailed care coordination, complex management, sort of be your quarterback of the home, right? Quarterback of your medical team. Now, a regular primary care doctor who is attached to the traditional model on average gets 8 to 12 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes with you. That is not ample time. Seeing 20 to 25 patients a day, it's hard. It is very hard to do. So this model attracted me because this model eliminates my pressure as a physician to deal with insurance companies, regulations, metrics. I was spending 5 to 6 hours a day in front of a computer documenting in the traditional model. And that was not sustainable for me, or was it satisfying? So what we do is, if you, Matt, became my patient and you have insurance, great. Keep your health insurance, do all of that. For the purposes of my office and me taking care of you, it's an annual membership fee that can be split up twice a year. Unlimited office visits, no copays, 24/7 access to me for urgent issues after hours and weekends, so we avoid urgent cares in the ERs. And I get 45 minutes to an hour with you to really get to know you when I see you. And, that's what it's about, really getting deep with relationships, learning the healthcare and all of that. And you may argue, well, isn't that concierge medicine? Well, yes, traditionally, it's sort of a concierge service we're offering, but there sometimes is a difference that I want to talk about. Concierge is out there, but sometimes concierge doctors also still bill insurance and charge copays and all of that. I'm eliminating the insurance out of it, so I don't have to deal with that. I get to focus on you. I have a partner here also that is with me, part of the Atlanta Internists, and I'm taking over for a physician who is now retiring, who was a legacy in the community, Dr. Capo. So it's a well-established practice operation. I'm about 6 weeks in, and I have never been happier.
And that's awesome. Yeah, I was just telling
Yeah.
you, my wife worked in healthcare, and she finally found a job that she loves, and I'm really happy for
Yeah,
her.
yeah, and it's about, doing what we loved and what we were trained for. And,
Yeah,
when you get in the weeds of doing these jobs, sometimes you forget what our mission is. And then you all of a
right.
sudden you wake up one day and you're like, what am I doing and why am I doing this? So I'm glad your wife
Yeah,
found what she's really passionate about, and I'm happy I'm where I'm at too.
yeah. You never dreamt as a kid of filling out, insurance forms and that kind of stuff.
No, no,
dealing
I
with
didn't.
dealing with all the
No,
back end.
that's not why we went in. And there is nothing to take away from that. There is value in those doctors doing what they're doing. But I will
Yeah,
tell you openly, and our listeners will probably recognize this too. It is harder and harder to do the right thing in healthcare because it's so complex and things get lost through the cracks constantly. It's not a safe system.
yeah. All right. Well, you do a lot of other stuff too. I don't even know where to get started here. Author, podcaster. Tell me about the book. I like this story with the COVID.
Absolutely. I
The
got to
way that
lead a
people.
great hospital medicine group through COVID. I was on the front lines in the trenches. My wife's my second child was born 2 weeks before the country shut down in 2020. And my wife's maternity leave, she's also a physician. Her maternity leave really got turned into caring for a preschooler, 4-year-old
Yeah.
girl, and an infant newborn. I was thrown back in the trenches in COVID, coming home, not even knowing what I'm bringing home to my kids, my wife. It was torture and
Yeah.
chaos. And there was a lot of adrenaline with it, right? Remember, we were all cheering for healthcare workers across the country because of everything we were doing. But about 6 to 7 months into the pandemic, when I realized this is for the long run, the next year or two, we're going to be dealing with cycles of this, I
Right.
really hit a rock bottom. And I was in my low 40s, the mental health part, the burnout part, it really hit me where I had to take control and do something about it because I realized I was going and spiraling down. And a lot of people our age don't talk about mental health, but we really need to. And I'm
Yeah.
fortunate that, I'm still a work in progress, but I took charge of my mental health. I saw my primary care physician. I see a therapist. I'm doing what I need to maintain myself. And initially, I was not excited to really share my story because it feels like it should be rather private. But I was approached by a literary agent saying, you have a story to tell, and I think people would want to hear it. And I said, okay, maybe. And the more I thought about it, I was talking to a few colleagues, and everybody was shocked that I was that guy that was struggling because on the outside, I looked like I had it all put together. And
Right.
clearly I didn't. So that's why I decided to share my story. And the book is a memoir. It's about fatherhood. You're a dad too, so I know you
Yep.
recognize that. Dealing with COVID, burning out, mental health, feeling like you're giving it all on the work front. And then how do you still give it at home? What really matters? And if you remember, racism was a twin pandemic in
It
2020 with the
was.
murder of George Floyd living in the South where we live. We aren't immune to that here.
Yeah.
And we felt a lot of racial tensions also in the hospital because hospitals are micro societies of what's going on outside. So all that came together, and I decided to share that story and wrote my memoir. All of my author proceeds, Matt, are going back to the Dr. Lorna Breen Heroes Foundation. It's a foundation to help destigmatize mental health challenges for healthcare workers. Without getting too much into it, just to make you aware, maybe our listeners aware, every year in the United States, 400 physicians die by suicide. And that's probably
Wow.
undercounted. That's more than one a day.
Yeah.
And that's appalling. And there's probably nurses. There's a lot more going on out there. So, needless to say, it's a passion of mine, and that's what led me to writing my book and saying, you know what, there's more to my job and more to life than just seeing patients. I want to share my stories here.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. And then inner podcasting. Where'd that come from?
Yeah. So I like talking to people. I like getting to know people and, sharing the other side of things. And one of the analogies told me is like, you have a website, you have a social media, you're doing all this, but you're missing a podcast. And everybody these days needs a podcast as part of what their brand, not only what their
They
brand
do.
is, but how to get their
Totally
mission
agree.
out there, right?
Yep.
And share their stories. So I went back and forth with the idea, and my podcast is called Seen in Full. And it's really a space where we get to have open conversations that we go a little deeper, whether it's mental health, workplace toxicity, challenges, burnout. So far this season, I've interviewed a former radio host who left the industry due to toxicity and finding himself, interviewed a former teacher, Brenda Wood, legendary journalist in Atlanta. She was one of my first podcast guests on
Okay.
talking about how we put it together so well on air and for other people, but behind the scenes, we are struggling. And it's not just about struggle. It's about really who we are. And we are more than what our work and our jobs define us. So
Yeah.
it really opens up these really interesting conversations, which are very powerful. So I'm excited. We're about 4 or 5 episodes in, going to have 8 episodes this season. So seem in full.
Is any of it medical style?
Good question. No, I'm not going with the idea of this is a medical tips podcast, all of that. This is my time to escape from that, right?
There you go.
I love talking about burnout and mental health because that's my thing. But what I'm realizing more and more in any industry that we're in, if you go on LinkedIn, you can do all these searches. We are all sort of facing these similar things right now with the world being so chaotic and divided. And we need to get back to relationships and having these conversations to sort of unite each other when we're all so divided,
Yeah. And podcasting is a great way to meet people. It really is. And
I
form,
agree.
New relationships with people. There's a lot of people that I've had on that, I wouldn't have ever had a chance to talk to otherwise in any walk of life. And so, I totally agree. Looking for something fun for the whole family? Discover Dunwoody is spotlighting all of the best kid-approved and parent-friendly activities around town. From parks and playgrounds to interactive museums and seasonal events, there's always something for families to enjoy here. Their videos and posts make it easy to plan a weekend or trip everyone was going to remember. And if you've got somebody, family or friends coming to town, have them book a stay at whatsupdunwoody.com/hotels. Booking through that link helps support our podcast. And for the latest kid-friendly events, just visit whatsupdunwoody.com/events. This direct primary care, is it more popular in Dunwoody? Is this like a bougie thing? I remember my primary care doctor went concierge, what he called it. And I was like, I don't want to pay that much money. Like, this is not worth it. And I switched doctors, but I'm sure that a lot of people have hung with you. What exactly?
Listen, I had to do that soul searching myself before doing on this model because I never thought of myself as the bougie doctor or sort of this only treating a certain subset of the population. That's
kind of a newer thing that people don't understand completely.
Yeah, exactly. So, this is a model really for everyone. This is for somebody who really wants to have a relationship about their health, not felt like run-of-the-mill transactional where you see the doctor and you just feel like you're not getting enough. There's more to your health than what we're saying. And somebody who also wants to focus on preventative, proactive care so we don't end up being reactive 20 years from now.
Heard that more and more recently.
Yeah. Especially for guys like us, it's really important. We see a lot of, 50 to 70-year-olds with a lot of complex issues, and that's great. You also need somebody who's going to advocate for you, right? Everybody needs an advocate. So the way the model works is, it is really can be something that can be affordable. So I'll share openly for our business, the Atlanta Internists. It is $2,400 a year, and that covers, like I said, all the fees, your full physical, the blood work with the physical, anything that I need you to do that's not in the office. Let's say you're having such bad back pain and issues that I'm really worried about something and I need an MRI of your back. Well, that's when your insurance can kick in. What about for those of us that don't have insurance or just have one of those high deductible policies or catastrophic insurance and are doing a lot of self-pay? The advantage of this model is you can pay the cash once, the cash price yearly. And then we do have connections and subsidized rates where we can order a lot of these tests for a really cheaper cost than going through insurance. So there's a lot of advantages to it. So
$2,400 is not much. That I was not expecting that. That's
good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah. So that's where we're at, and I know healthcare prices are skyrocketing. Look, I'm an entrepreneur now and I am paying now for a family of 4, and it is not easy. And I'm really worried what's going to happen as we keep moving forward. And more importantly, for doctors, nurses like your wife, all of us that are out there trying to do this, what does it look like 10 to 15 years from now where you and me, Matt, are probably going to need the healthcare system more? Is it going to be something sustainable? So I'm not suggesting I can fix the big system. I can't. That's not what I can do. But man, we can get out of it and pursue this model and really
Yeah.
take care of these patients the way we want to and navigate them. And that's why this model can really benefit a lot of the community.
Yeah, I love it. And if they don't like it, they can go back to regular medicine.
Oh,
But this
absolutely.
is
Absolutely.
yeah. I mean, if you're choosing to go that route, yeah, there's definitely a fit for it.
And
Um,
time again, the other thing we hear is that when you call for an appointment, you can't get in, you're leaving a message, you're talking to a phone tree. Now it's an
right.
AI phone tree. And
Yeah.
it just doesn't always work, right? And it don't feel like we get what we need. And, we've turned into an on-demand generation, right? We DoorDash, we Uber Eats, we want things right then. We get an appointment on an app. This is how we do things. So,
Yeah. I'll
we
let
don't have a phone.
ChatGPT do my diagnosis.
Right. We, and that's what we talk about too, honestly. A lot of patients come in saying, well, I think I have this. Well, now we actually have time to dissect it out and say, what's
Right.
really going on? So, like I said, this is the happiest I've felt. It's more than a honeymoon period of starting this position. It's really feels like this is where I'm supposed to be. And
That's
I
great.
work the other model and I know what it's like and I have a lot of respect, but this is where we're going right now.
Nice. All right. Well, tell people how to get in touch with you. What's the name
The
of your
webs.
what's the name of
Yeah,
the
the podcast is Seen in Full.
Seen and Full.
Yep. And I am on social media at Dr. Desai MD. That's DoctorDesaimD. And our practice name is the Atlanta Internists. I'm a local guy here. We hang out in Dunwoody, Sandy Springs all the time. So I love what this area is really doing and the way it's growing. It's such a great area for families and all the work you're doing to help, continue to bring up what's
Thanks,
going
man.
on and leveraging it. That's really important work you're doing for the community. So thank you.
I appreciate that. You do some pretty good work too, making
Well,
people
thank
healthy.
you.
That's
Thank you. Thank you.
God's work there. Well, cool. Well, thanks for coming on, man. And talk
Thank
to
you,
you soon.
Matt. Okay.